and talk about subgroup mixing in Pro Tools specifically here. So we're going to be working with this Rubadoo song, and we're going to start with the verse.
Wanna feel your word, embrace me, like skin across your bones, like skin across your bones. Saw the summer sun rising without you.
All right, cool. So what we're going to do here is, first of all, I'm going to go ahead and group these tracks together. Now this is a bit interesting because it's a bit easy because I've already color-coded these. We color-coded them, and I put them into like an order before. And so when things are color-coded like this, it makes it really easy to say like, oh, these go together, oh, these go together, oh, these go together. So what we're going to do here is with these here, I'm going to go ahead and make, all these drums here are orange. I'm going to go ahead and make a new aux track. So I'm going to make it a stereo aux track, and you can see stereo aux track, and we'll go in here and we'll call this one drum group. Drum group. Boop. And so as I mentioned before, these aux tracks should almost always be stereo. The only time they're going to be mono is if it's like a kick drum or something like that, like something very specific. But in a case where you're doing a lot of different instruments, especially where they have different kind of panning going on with their mixing, you want it to be stereo. So I've got this set here for drum group. Sorry, there's like people talking somewhere. And so the dog is like, I want to go be a part of that. All right. So, come on, puppy. Chill. Here, bus. So I open up my buses, and I'm going to set my destination first so I just know where everything is going. So let's go ahead and set it for bus 7 and 8. And now all my individual tracks here, I'm just going to have them go to that bus 7 and 8. So here's bus 7 and 8. And bus 7 and 8. Boom, bus 7 and 8. And there's a shortcut for this. I can highlight everything by shift-clicking on stuff. I can highlight everything by shift-clicking, and then hold down Option and Shift. Sorry, it's hard to wrestle with the dog and hold down Option and Shift. And then I can adjust my bus on one of them. There we go. And now they're going to all go to the same place. So that's how we can set that for multiple tracks to go to the same place. Use Option and Shift. So now all my drums are going to this drum track here. I'm going to go ahead and solo save this. And now check this out.
Wanna feel your word,
I can pull this one fader
embrace me, like skin across your bones, like skin across your...
That one fader is adjusting this level of everything because all the drums are going through into this one right here. Okay, and that's easy, like how you do it, like really quick. But let's go ahead and look at in here subgroup mixing here. Okay, so subgroup mixing, all the tracks are going from the output into an aux track. Okay, remember the aux tracks are good for three things: send effects, subgroup mixing, and external audio input. And in this case, we're using it for subgroup mixing. So all those tracks are going into my aux track. See, sent to an aux track right there. Boom. In this case, 7 and 8, not 1 and 2, but 7 and 8. Okay. So let's go ahead and go through this step by step one more time. Let's do it for our vocals. And the vocals, we're going to actually have a few more things. But so step number one is we create a stereo aux track and name it whatever. I'm going to name this one vocal verse. So I'm going to make a stereo aux track right here. Actually, I'm gonna. There we go. It's hard for me to see because there's like a glitch happening with this computer with that when I name stuff, but that's okay. So vocal verse group. Now I'm going to take all my vocal verses, all my vocal verse tracks, and send them to that vocal verse group. So I'm going to set up the input on the vocal verse group. Let's go to bus 9 and 10. And all of these, I'm going to do it one at a time because this dog is like stressing. If I let go, she's going to like run somewhere else. Ah. Come on, dog, stop moving. Stop moving. This house where I'm in now is a lot more active than where I was before. So, okay, here we got bus 9 and 10, bus 9 and 10, bus 9 and 10, going to bus 9 and 10 here on the input on this vocal verse group. And I'm going to hold down Command and click the solo button here. There we go. Come on, baby. Lie down. Yeah, there you go. Good girl. Yes, yes, yes. I know. Just go lie down and go to sleep. Okay, so now everything is right here. We're all good to go right here. So now I've got these. So with my vocals, I can now adjust this level here.
Wanna feel your word, embrace me like skin across your bones, like skin across your bones. Saw the summer sun.
Turn my drums back up again.
Rising without you. I wanna see your eyes.
Awesome. Okay. And now we can just go through. Let's see here. Let's go back to our preview here. So set up the input. Set up the input. In this case is bus 9 and 10. Decide which tracks you want to send to the aux, all the drums and the drum reverb. Or in this case, it was our vocals. Use the track's outputs because we want to send the entire signal. So this part here is really important. So a lot of times people get confused, and I really want you to pay attention to this. A lot of times people get confused, and they try to do subgroup mixing from the send out. And we don't want to do the send out because remember the send out splits the signal. And we did talk about that the other day, but we want to make sure that we're doing the main output there, not the send output, okay? And then down here it says to send multiple tracks to the same location, select the tracks, click the first track, then shift, click the last track, hold Option and Shift and change the output. So that's how we can do that. And this just shows you some examples of this here. All of this right here, they're all going to bus 3 and 4, going into bus 3 and 4, and these are being sent to bus 1 and 2, which is our reverb. So we've got the reverb here. We've got the reverb here is also going into that same group. Now, there are some times when you want the reverb to go into the same group and sometimes when you do not want the reverb to go into the same group. And that's going to be kind of a case by case, so we'll come back and talk about that in just a little bit here. So let's go ahead and do this with the vocals a couple more times. Oops, wrong one. There we go. Okay. Let's go ahead and subgroup all these instruments up. And it's like I said, it's easy because we've already gone through and color coded them. So we know what the colors are. We did that in another class. So I'm going to go ahead and make a new track here. I'll just use the menu here. Go to track, new, and I'm going to make I'm going to make like 5 of these so I don't have to keep making new tracks. 5 aux inputs. Boop. Did I not make 5? I did not make 5. So let's do that again. And this time, let's actually put in the number 5. There we go, 5, nope. Make them stereo. There we go, aux. There we go. Hi, puppy. Okay, cool, so now we got 5 of these, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and just put these around where I want them to be. And I always just kind of do it by putting them next to things. So for example, I've got this aux here. I'm going to put this next to my bass. I'm going to drag it up here. I'm doing it on the left-hand side of my screen over here so you can kind of see how this works. It's a really nice way to like rearrange things in Pro Tools. It makes life a little bit easier. If I've got a whole bunch of tracks, I can just drag it over here. Puppy, you're fine. Chill. Oh, you were yawning. And then over here, number 4. Move that there. I've already got one for my verse, my vocals, and then number 6 down here to this one here. All right, cool. Puppy. She's like super FOMO right now. All right, so I got this down here, and I'm going to put one more down here in the bottom. Let's put one here next to these, and let's make one more. One more aux track here for my instruments, and I'm going to show you about that here and like how we're going to use all these in just a second here. So I got one more. I'm going to put that down here, and I can go ahead and name these up. So this here would be my bass group, and it's a good idea to keep things named properly. Bass group, and this in here would be my acoustic guitar group, and you can see that when I'm naming these, I'm using abbreviations for things, and these are just the same abbreviations that I use all the time. So that's why I'm like, I can do them pretty quickly here. And then over here, I've got this one. Hi, puppy. This is my guitar solo. And I put the word group after each one, so I just know that it's for grouping and not for like a reverb or a delay or something like that. And then here's my bridge vox, vocal, bridge, group. And then over here's all my choruses, my chorus vocals. And so there's stacks of them for this song. Vocal, chorus, group. And then this one here is going to be for my vocal group as a whole, because if you remember in the picture we just looked at, I'm going to bring my vocals down to their own group. And this way I can balance between my instruments and my vocals. I'm going to keep everything over here. Okay, stop it, puppy. You're fine. And then I've got my instrument reverb, and then I've got my instrument group. Boom, there we go, cool. And so all of these, now you notice that I haven't set up any inputs on these yet, okay? So let me see here. Monique says, this shows the importance of track organization, especially when bouncing for team review input. When organizing tracks, do you tend to keep your subgroup aux with their tracks or together? Is there a rule of thumb? So the answer to that's a great question. So basically what she's asking is, do I put all my subgroups over near my master, or some people put them on the right-hand side of their master, or do I keep them with my tracks? I like to keep them with my tracks. Puppy, lie down and chill. You can't go anywhere. I like to keep them with my tracks. That's just something that I've always done my whole career. So I got used to that. But the reality is you can do whatever you want. There's no like you have to do it this way or you have to do it that way. I've seen a lot of people who do put all their subgroups kind of over at the end. But I don't do it like that, because what you can do later on is you can go up here to tracks, show only aux tracks. And now it's just showing you your aux tracks here, so you can see all your groups and stuff like this. So that's why I kind of do it like I do it, because I can use Pro Tools to kind of show me just what I want to later on. All right, so what I'm going to do here is all these things. Now notice I haven't set up any inputs or outputs or anything yet, and we're going to do that step right now. Puppy, lie down. She's going to hate me. So these bass guitars here, I'm going to go ahead and highlight these two here, and I'm going to hold down Option and Shift. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to Track. I'm going to find the one I just made, the bass group. And now I changed that. Now what I did when I do that, it changes the inputs and the outputs for me automatically. So it changes my input on my bass aux track. So it's set to it puts like a bus on there, and it gives it the name bass group, and it's naming it by the name of the track that I'm sending it to. And then Carl says, yeah, I searched for both this and color coding yesterday, and there was no real standards. No, there's absolutely no standard for color coding at all. I use the colors that I use, and when I'm grading people's like your projects and stuff, I don't care what colors you use. I just care that you have them color coded. So all your drums are one color, all your basses are another color, all that stuff there. There's no standard for that. All right, so go over here to the acoustic guitars. Puppy, you gotta chill. So let's go over here to the acoustic guitars, and all my acoustic guitars, I'm gonna highlight these. I'm gonna hold down Option and Shift, go to Track, and I'm gonna go to my AC guitar group, and it's gonna send everything to this group right here. Just make sure you solo safe these. That's the one thing I didn't do yet that I need to do. And then my guitar solos, here, hold down Option and Shift, go to Track, Guitar Solo Group. Puppy, you're fine. We're gonna take a break after this so I can take her for a little walk so she'll chill out. And then all my vocals, let's send these to the vocal bridge. Vocal bridge group here. Boom. And then this one here, chorus, it's gonna go to my chorus group. Oops. Send that over here to this, and Track, vocal chorus group. There we go. Awesome. Now, all the ones I just made, I'm gonna go ahead and just show only my aux tracks here. And all these that I've just made, I'm gonna send all my instrument ones to go to my instrument. So these here are all gonna go to my instrument group. And I'm doing it exactly the same way. And these ones here are gonna go to my vocal group that I just made, vocal group. There we go. And I also included the reverbs and stuff, and I'm gonna do the same thing with this reverb instrument here. I'm gonna go ahead and send that over to my instrument group as well. Great, so now we've got everything set up properly. You can see this vocal group here says vocal group.1 because I already had a vocal group in there before that I forgot about, but so I just renamed it. How do you show, oh, okay, Mickey. So how do we show only the aux tracks? Just up here in the upper left-hand corner, right here, this little arrow, this here gives you some like options for showing and hiding things. So I can show all my tracks, so all the tracks are shown there. We can see everything is there, and this works for, it does it in both the views. Or go over here and go to show only aux tracks. So now it's just gonna show my aux tracks there. There's a phone ringing. That's an interesting phone ringing sound. Cool. So now we can see it's just doing that. Now the other thing you can do is if I have just some tracks selected, like let's say I just want to do that, my drum and my bass and a guitar and one of my vocals, and I just want to show those selected tracks, I can just go up here and I highlight the tracks I want to show and then go show only selected tracks, and now it's just going to show me the tracks that I've just got selected right there. So this is a way that we can we can really have control over what we're looking at on the screen here, which is super, super awesome. Okay, so now we've talked about Pro Tools groups, mix groups, and edit groups versus, and let's make this versus subgroup mixing, okay? So Pro Tools mix and edit groups. I'm gonna go ahead and show all my tracks. Let's say that I wanna do editing on my drums in here, and I wanna edit all my drums together. So what I would do is I'd highlight all my drums here, and actually let me go ahead and make these all the same color. Yeah, there we go. So I got all my drums. I'm not going to include my drum group here in all this because I usually like to not include the drum group for like volume changes and stuff like that. But I'm going to go in here and I highlight the drums and I hit Command G. And now we're going to call this one drums. And I'm going to put it under ID D. And this is something we've talked about in the past. Now what this allows me to do, now that I've got these here, when I edit them, see how I highlight over this, it's gonna go ahead and highlight all my drums. So if I went ahead and deleted these out like this, it's deleting it out from everything here. And if I go over here to my mix view, and I move this, see it's moving all of them individually like that. It's really important that you understand that this is different from subgroup mixing. This is what we call the Pro Tools mix and edit groups. With this, each channel is still separate and you can only apply effects to each channel on its own. Whereas with subgroup mixing, all the channels kind of become one, and any effect you apply to the subgroup channel, it affects everything. the cool part is that you still have control. You still have the option to deal with the channels separately. You still have control of the individual instruments. So if I go back here to my Pro Tools, I still have all my individual drums here. All my individual drum sounds are here. I can put effects on each one individually. So I could put like an EQ on this kick drum. I could put, I could put like a compressor on the hand clap or something like that. So I still have the ability to do individual tweaks to things, but now I could put it on my group as a whole as well. I could put like an EQ and a compression on here, and this is going to kind of affect everything. So everything's affecting everything else. This concept is a little bit tough to wrap your head around at first, but the more you do it, the more you'll get used to it, and the more you'll understand about it. So in here, drums here, these all here are going through this subgroup here, right here, but there's all individual. Now, the next question is, people say, so should we have the Pro Tools mix groups and have things subgroups? And the answer is yes, because when you're editing stuff, you are going to want to edit your drums all together and be able to make edits on my drums all together, right? And that's something you cannot do with the subgroup mixing. So the Pro Tools mix groups is something that Pro Tools has. I think Logic has it as well. Ableton Live does have it now with Live 11. It's a new thing with Live 11. I haven't used it yet, so I don't really know how it's used yet, just because I haven't used it yet. But with subgroup mixing, you should use subgroup mixing for all of your tracks as well. For all your different tracks, all your different DAWs, you should use subgroup mixing on them as well. How you do it is slightly different between the different DAWs. Like Pro Tools and Logic both work the same way. Ableton Live does it slightly differently. Okay, so it's important to understand when an effect should be applied to an individual channel versus a group of channels, and that's just something that you can talk to me about, or you just have to practice doing it. But essentially, it's like if I want my kick drum to be thicker and thumpier, something like that, I would have put an effect directly on that kick drum. If I want my drums as a whole to have less overall highs or have less lows in general, or maybe a little bit of compression to kind of pull them together and kind of make them work as one unit, then I would put the effect on my subgroup channel. One is not a replacement for the other. That's super, super important to understand. Okay, finally, before we stop talking about subgroups so much, we're going to talk about effects and subgroups. And there's a question that comes up here is that, should I put my effect inside of the subgroup? So here's what we've got here. Sorry. This is, reverb and yeah. So in this one here, hold on, let's just back this up a second. Sorry, I went too far. In this one here, this kind of shows you what I was just describing there with individual effects on the individual instruments versus effects on the subgroup channel. So here, the blue effects only change the individual instruments, compression, EQ, distortion. Here, the red insert affects everything. So let's go ahead and look at this over here in my song. I'm going to solo out my drums. And why are we not? Oh, it's because I don't have something solo saved over here. There we go. There we go. Okay. Yes. Okay, so now in here, for example, there's like no low end in here. Yeah, but there's like no low end in here. That's really funny. But that's okay. It doesn't really need the low end in the song. So let's just pull up. Let's pull a little bit out of this here. Because you can hear this one track has the kick and some kind of other thing in it. So if I want to pull that one up there, I'll just use different. Find that one there. And now, go ahead and just use and we already have a pretty good mix going on with these drums. Let's say the cymbal here. Not this swell. I'm going to turn off my drum group here and pull that swell down a little bit. And this cymbal here, put a little EQ on it. Put a low cut in here. Okay, there we go. Now I've got these individual effects on individual drums, and you can kind of hear how it's changing those individual sounds. Let me go ahead and just solo this out. There it is with it on there. There's without the effect on there. Let's go ahead and loop the chorus here. You can hear how that affects the sound. Right, if we want to pull out that bell sound a little bit, boost some of these highs over here a little bit. Let's go over here to the kick drum thing. Hear how that sounds different from this. Here, I'm going to make it more pronounced. There we go. Right, hear that? It's a big difference in sound, right? And that's just on that one sound there. What we want to do is now, if we wanted to use the subgroups and we want to pull all the drums together a little bit more, let me just pull this back up. Then we can put like a compressor on the drum group, use the BF76, just to kind of pull them all together a little bit.
Walking up that mountainside at dawn, you said you were.
Don't go anywhere from big. So now, if I compress this here, all the drums are going to be affecting each other. You can hear, if I really boost this input, when I like everything's kind of breathing based on those hand claps, because the hand claps are a bit louder than everything else. So when you put an effect on the channel on the subgroup channel, you have to be aware that everything's affecting everything else, and it becomes a really big deal, and it becomes something you have to really balance out. Like, what are you trying to do with it? So that's that there. And then, so individual effects versus an effect on the subgroup. And then finally, let's talk about this reverb here. So you could put the reverb inside of your group or outside of your group. So if I have my individual channels going to a reverb here, the reverb itself in this picture here is not affected by the level of the subgroup. So this is like a really great way to use it if you want to like heavily compress your subgroup, like your drums as a whole, but you want the reverb to still sound kind of more natural. Then you would use this setup like this. You'd have your reverb outside of your drum group. Now let's compare it to this one here, where the reverb is inside of the group. So here you can see the output of the reverb is going into this drum group here, whereas opposed to this one here, the output of the reverb is going to my master 1 and 2. So we can see here, kick, snare, and hi-hats are going to bus 1 and 2. Bus 1 and 2 is this drum group here. They have buses that are going in here, bus 3 and 4 are all going sent to this reverb, but the reverb and the drum group are both going to my main 1 and 2. Whereas with this one here, now kick, snare, hi-hat are still going to the drum group. They're still being sent to the reverb here, but the reverb itself is now going to my drum group as well. It's the main 1 and 2. So let me just show you what that is going to look like here. This song is a little bit weird for this. it's not a song that you can really hear. Actually, you know what? Let's change the song up real quick. Let's go ahead and I'm going to turn the solos off here, and we're going to save this. And we're going to use Sharp Hand Joe for this. The Sharp Hand Joe, we'll be able to hear that a little bit better. So pull this up here, and let's go over here. So this one here, we've already got things subgrouped together. We already kind of worked on this the other day. We've got our bass drums going here to this. We've got these going into this one group right here, this aux channel. We've got all the drums as a whole going into our drum group here. And this is going to the output here. Now let's get this reverb. And let's put the reverb into the drum group here and just hear what that sounds like. The way I do it is I just go to my output here and I just change that to my drum group. And now let's change it so it's not, so it's just going to the main output and hear what that sounds like. It's actually a very similar sound because we're not really driving things too hard with this stuff. Here, let's really push this a lot harder. Let's pull this up. There we go. Yeah, it's gonna be hard to hear because these already have a lot of like tail on them. But if I push this reverb up like this, see how that sounds versus this. Yeah. Big difference there in the sound. So how you want these to sound is going to change where you put that reverb in stuff. And my recommendation really for this is experiment. Try things out and see how it sounds. If you're like really driving your compressors very hard on your drums to get like a really smacky sound, and you want that reverb to be part of that, then put the reverb inside of the drum group. Send the reverb to the drum group. But if you want the reverb to sound more natural, but you want the drums to sound more smacky, then put the reverb outside of the drum group. And really, and it does talk about it here in the notes, so you want to read the notes here and just check this out. But the setup is fine for natural sounding drums that you don't plan to overcompress for that reverb inside the drum group. If you're just going to more of a natural sound on your drums, then you can put that reverb into the drum group. Just be aware that if you do adjust your level of your drum group and the reverb is outside of the drum group, like this one here, we are going to hear that reverb more and more and hear the drums less and less. So for example, if I go back in here and put the reverb, it's outside of the drum group. So check this out, watch this. If I pull this down, we're gonna hear nothing but that reverb. And the reason why we're hearing that reverb only is because all the drums are being sent to the reverb before, like from the drums themselves, before they're sent from over here. So if I pull this back up, we're gonna get that sound. But if I pull this down, we're only going to be hearing that reverb. And that's because of where they are in the signal chain. That's a really gross sounding reverb. I do not like that reverb at all. So that's kind of everything regarding subgroups, subgroup mixing, especially as it pertains to Pro Tools.